So the question of whether or not the Lahadatuk intrusion, I think we need to paint it in a proper light. It was an intrusion seems to make it sound like people walked up to your house and opened the door. It was a very violent war that was waged. Of course, not in a very large scale, but there were a lot of casualties and there was a lot of cruelty and definitely a lot of violence. So you must look into the Lahadatuk incident from that light. So because of the Lahadatuk incident, Malaysia took the stance that there was a repudiation of whether you would like to call it a treaty or a cession. It was basically on the claimant side, it was a repudiation. And therefore, that was the reason why Malaysia stopped paying. Now, whether or not you would say that tantamounts to grounds for Malaysia to stop paying the payment, I would only say this. One of the claimants, which is Muhammad Fuad Abdullah Kiram, has been declared as a terrorist by Malaysia for basically being part of the Royal Sulu Force. And the Royal Sulu Force was basically the group of people that waged war against Malaysia in Lahadatuk intrusion. So as you can see, the very act that one of the claimants is involved in all of this would imply that there was certainly no desire by the claimants to abide by this agreement and to unilaterally come to Malaysia and wage a bloody, violent war against Malaysia. And certainly that would entail a rescission or a repudiation by the claimants. And I would believe that would mean that Malaysia is perfectly entitled to stop making payments. And for all, and because of that, definitely I would say yes. Malaysia is entitled to stop making payment to the claimants for justifiable legal grounds. The Sulu Sultanate definitely had referred their dispute to the High Court of State of Sabah, to the High Court of the State of North Borneo, resulting in what is now a very famous case, the McCaskey judgment in 1939. And it is a very well tried and tested principle of law that once you submit to a jurisdiction, you are bound by that jurisdiction. So the very fact that they had come to North Borneo, they had submitted themselves to the courts of North Borneo, and in fact are using that decision to justify their claims, that would also mean they recognize Malaysia as the place where any disputes should be resolved. But what did they do? They actually went firstly to the United Kingdom. Remember, there's agreement, this 1878 agreement. Where would you think any disputes that arises would be resolved? It would obviously be Malaysia. It would obviously be United Kingdom. So what did they do? They went to United Kingdom in 2017 to try to start this arbitration, but the United Kingdom Foreign Office basically rejected that attempt to start arbitration there and decided that it was not a suitable forum for them to start the arbitration. So what did they do? They went to Spain. Now, of course, the award in Spain would justify why they think Spain has jurisdiction. However, that would be very tenuous at the very best. Just to say that during that time, Spain actually had control of Philippines, the territory, was the reason why the Spanish arbitrator said he had jurisdiction. So remember, they came to Malaysia first, North Borneo, to make claims to resolve any disputes that they had. And then when they perhaps believed that they could not get anything they wanted in Malaysia, which of course is wrong because Malaysia follows a rule of law and we abide by rule of law. Whether or not they succeed in a claim is entirely dependent on whether or not they can justify whatever they're asking, claiming for. So when they thought perhaps they could not get what they wanted, they went what we call foreign shopping. Foreign shopping is effectively looking for a jurisdiction where you think you are going to get a beneficial treatment and filing an action there. This is exactly what they did when they thought, remember, after they submitted to the jurisdiction of North Borneo, Malaysia, they subsequently went to the United Kingdom to try to file something there. That didn't work. And then they ended up in Spain to do this. So if this is not forum shopping, if this is not an abuse of the whole arbitration process or the legal process, what is it? It is and can only be abuse of the process. And yes, so because they had actually submitted themselves to North Borneo, Malaysia for disputes, they would have to start other disputes in Malaysia, but they didn't do that. The principle of self-determination actually is a very well and it's an acknowledged principle in the United Nations Charter, and it is all about the legal rights, recognizing the legal rights in international law to self-determination. A very important element in the principle of self-determination recognized by UN and other legal other international legal laws is that self-determination must be respected and everyone is free to express their wishes, the people's wishes. So in when Sabah and Sarawak formed Malaysia, it was actually unconditionally accepted by UN. And it is a valid exercise of self-determination by the peoples of Sabah, firstly through the findings of the United Malaysian Mission, and subsequently by the removal of North Borneo and Sarawak from the list of non-self-governing territories maintained by the United Nations. And for these reasons, United Nations had actually acknowledged and without any comment whatsoever, accepted Sabah as part of Malaysia. Now, what is more interesting and commonly not actually commonly not mentioned a lot of is the Manila Accord. So this Manila Accord of July 31st, 1963 was made between the Federation of Malaya, the Republic of Indonesia, and the Republic of Philippines, which entrusted the United Nations Secretary General with the task of ascertaining the wishes of the people of North Borneo, Sabah. The Secretary General reported that the majority of the peoples of North Borneo had given serious and thoughtful consideration to their future and to the implications for them of participation in the Federation of Malaysia. He believed that the majority of the peoples of Sabah have concluded that they wish to bring their dependent status to an end and to realize their independence through freely chosen association with other peoples in the region. He further added that the fundamental agreement of the three participating governments in the Manila meetings and the statements by the Republic of Indonesia and the Republic of Philippines that they would welcome the formation of Malaysia, provided that the support of people of the territories by, and that in his opinion, complete compliance with the principle of self-determination within the requirements of the General Assembly Resolution 1541. And this brought him to his final conclusion, based on his findings, that on both these counts, there is no doubt about the wishes of a sizable majority of the peoples of these territories to join the Federation of Malaysia. So the independence of North Borneo, Sabah, was brought about as a result of the express wishes of the majority of the people of territory of Sabah in the 1963 referendum. So in light of this, you can see Sabahans have already expressed their wishes to be part of Malaysia, and this was done through a referendum, which is recognized by the United Nations. And because of this, it cannot be claimed by Philippines anymore validly that the peoples of that Sabah remains a disputed territory. The peoples of Sabah have spoken, and they have said unequivocally that they want to be part of Malaysia. I have touched on previously regarding where such an arbitration, the Sulu arbitration should have started. As you will recall, I was saying that it would be obvious that the arbitration should have been started in Malaysia because they had already submitted themselves to the jurisdiction of Malaysia ever since the McCaskey case. And for that reason, they should have started the arbitration in Malaysia, but they did not. Again, the most logical place for the arbitration to have been done, therefore, after Malaysia, would have been United Kingdom. United Kingdom, another rule of law country, decided that it was not the proper forum for them to start the arbitration and declined to be the place for the arbitration. And subsequently, after failing in commencing an arbitration in United Kingdom, the claimants therefore went to Spain. Again, the claim of Spain to jurisdiction can, at the very best, to be said to be tenuous, because at that point in time, Spain was in control of Philippines, and therefore, because of that reason, the Spanish arbitrator decided that he had jurisdiction to hear the arbitration. The other grounds that we must consider is whether or not there is an arbitration agreement. When you look at the agreement, obviously, this was an 1878 agreement. There is no reference at all to arbitration. And there is no clear, there is no precise arbitration agreement in the agreement. And because of that, there is no arbitration agreement. And where there is no arbitration agreement, there can be no arbitration. But more importantly, one must look at whether or not there is a commercial dispute. Arbitration can only be used for commercial disputes, and Malaysia has always taken the stance that this agreement of 1878 was a cession payment. It had nothing to do with a lease. It must be remembered that there are many different versions of the original agreement, which was in Jawi, and all of these agreements have slight different variations in translations. But more importantly, Malaysia's stance has always been that these payments are cession payments. And if they are cession payments, it cannot be a commercial dispute. A commercial dispute is one where, for example, rent payment was not made. But this is not such a case. This is entirely a case of cession payments not being paid, which is not in any possible way can be painted as being commercial. And because of that, there is no commercial dispute here. And because there's no arbitration agreement, there can be no arbitration that could have been validly started.